Hey everyone, my name's Tollak. I'm an EV driver that drives a Tesla Model Y. I go by Charge Positive with a POZ on all my social media. I'm excited to be here today to make videos for Out of Spec Studios, starting with my 2021 Tesla Model Y. I picked it up in April of 21. It's actually a March of 21 build. So it's got the updated interior, but not the side panels. This is my third electric vehicle. I had a Volt and then a Bolt, and now my Model Y, which recently has passed 100,000 miles. And that's what we're here today to check out. We're gonna see how well Hank McCoy has held up over those 100,000 miles. Let's check it out. So how does one get to 100,000 miles in less than 2.5 years? Not even 2.5 yet. That would probably be September, October would be the 2.5 year point. Well, it's a mixture of things. I drive rideshare for one of my main jobs, but also I road trip. I drive this car a lot. So pretty much any Tesla Club event that's going on in Southern California, I'm driving from San Diego to LA or to Orange County or to Santa Clarita or up to Harris Ranch or even to Tesla Takeover. I've gone to 3 Tesla Takeovers, 21, 2, and 3 with this car. And yeah, so I like to drive. I've driven it to Vegas a couple times on the zero runs. I've driven it to Colorado, which was basically a 3,000 mile in 1 week, almost to the day, to the hour. Trip back when I first had it, the first summer I had it in 2021. So I like to drive. And if you like to drive, this car will get you pretty much where you need to go. There are many times where you're supercharging and you're probably tired from driving, 3, 4, 5, 600 miles a day. And you want a little rest and you want to get a snack and all that stuff. And the car's sitting like, hey, I'm ready to go to the next, to the next stop. So Model Y is pretty much the best combination of all these things. You have the hatchback, you have plenty of room for luggage, plenty of room for people. I have a lot of Lyft riders that get in and they're like, whoa, this is the bigger one, because they're probably used to riding in a Model 3, because there's so many Model 3s out there for rideshare. So they get into Model Y and they got plenty of leg room, plenty of headroom. They got the reclined seats. Sometimes, in fact, I've actually had I had a rider once that actually said, are these seats reclined? Can I move them forward? Because they actually like sitting upright more. So, but for the most part, it's a very comfortable vehicle for long hauls. So yeah, that's how you get to 100,000 miles in less than 3 years. And it's been a trooper. Hank McCoy right here. So the reason I call it Hank McCoy, anyone want to guess? Any X-Men fans out there? Well, it's my blue beast. So Beast's real name on X-Men is Hank McCoy. So that's why my Model Y is named Hank McCoy. It's also kind of a tribute to my Subaru. My Subaru 2.5 TS wagon was almost the same blue. It was a little bit darker than this. And for a long time, I kept putting off, I had a silver car, a white car. I was like, I'm getting blue again. So yeah, I love the Tesla blue. It looks good. I would love to have wrapped it, to get that matte finish on it, but the blue, can you tell I like blue? All right, so let's start off with just my general impressions with it after 100,000 miles. Well, I have to say that this is my favorite car I've ever had. A little bit of history of I'm not like the biggest car guy in terms of ownership. I do like cars, but I haven't had BMW M3s or stuff like that. But a little bit of history for me is kind of going back to my first car that I bought myself was a 2002 Subaru wagon, which was very close to what this was. And then I had a Toyota Matrix hatchback. So I like hatchbacks, if that's not obvious here. And then after the Toyota Matrix, I had a 2017 Chevy Volt with a V. And then I drove that for about 3 years, 60 plus, almost 70,000 miles, mostly electric. And then I got a 2019 Bolt with a B in March of 2019. I was a little impatient for the Model Y right here. It was basically like a week or two after the Model Y was announced, or they did the reveal. I was like, okay, I guess it's gonna be like the Model 3 where I gotta wait like 2 or 3 years on the wait list to get a Model Y. So in the meantime, I got a Bolt because I wanted a hatchback and I wanted a full EV. And then about 2 years after that, I drove it 72,000 miles. I then traded it in for my Tesla Model Y here. So this has basically been my all-around favorite car. It's all-wheel drive, it's got great range, it charges fast, it's got a lot of room for rideshare passengers. It's pretty much almost the perfect vehicle for me. So after 100,000 miles, it's been a tough little car. So one of the biggest questions we always get about, Teslas is their paint. So after 100,000 miles, how does the paint look? Well, I'm pretty biased. I like the blue. And I think from your average viewing perspective, I'm about 15 feet from the car right now. I still think it looks pretty good. When you get close, yeah, we can see some chips. I got pretty much the most of them on the hood here. You can see a few here, all these white dots. A couple of these are like bug spots where I ripped it out, but that's mostly rock chips there. And of course, the bug killer zone where we have tons of rock chips from all the road trips I take along the 5 freeway, 8 freeway, all of, the ways in and out of San Diego. So I don't know, I think it looks pretty good. I don't have any PPF on the vehicle. I, at one point, considered getting just the frontal PPF, but even that was like $2,000. I see why people do it, but from over here, doesn't really bother me. I know there's lots of people out there probably cringing right now. The worst rock chip I have is actually the first one I got, which is right here. Somehow a rock flew up to that part of the car. The first weekend, I was like, oh man. So, but there it is. Maybe someday I could get some treatment from out of spec detail. But for now, if it looks twice as worse than this in 200,000 miles, I think I'll be okay. That is, of course, like if I keep the car that long. So the worst spot, actually, where I would recommend maybe you get from the factory, is this little triangle of PPF here that you can get. This actually happened when I first went up to Lake Arrowhead after some snow and there was still gravel on the ground. So a lot of this is from one time going up to the mountains where they had a bunch of sand and gravel on the road for traction. All right, let's take a look at the interior. All right, so we'll save my seat for last. But pretty much all the other seats are doing pretty good. The synthetic vegan leather is pretty easy to clean. I can attest to that. As a rideshare driver, I clean these seats. Just a little bit of liquid in a towel. And then the door cards, there is some scuffing from people not knowing how to move their feet in and out, but backs of the seats looking pretty good here. Yeah, I would say maybe at least a third, if not half of my 100,000 miles have been ride sharing. So back here we have some luggage scuffing, but nothing too major. How often do you care about what your trunk looks like? There's the back area. I recently received these floor mats, so they've been helping out with, if people spill or have dirt, it's a lot easier than vacuuming out the original carpet liners, but they they're pretty easy to clean, easy to vacuum. This seat right here is the one that is used the most with rideshare. It's the default position everybody gets in. And that seat is looking pretty okay. Probably clean it once a day. Door card with some scuffs on the bottom. But nothing, nothing to write home mom about. Front seat where all my friends sit for the most part. Looking pretty okay. So, yeah, the interior holds up pretty well for 100,000 miles. Shout out to Tesla Club SoCal there. Now, for my seat, this is where every single mile has been sat in by me. So I have a little bit of, from my head there. And then, as I was saying, would love to have ventilated seats because this spot is where I feel the most heat and I get the most sweaty. So even though I do try to clean this seat about as regularly as I clean my other seats, it just This is the one seat that just did not really hold up. In fact, it held up to about 90,000 miles. It was only like a couple of months ago that this started, like, it's kind of sticky. It's the material underneath. And then let's talk about my steering wheel. So about 2-3 months ago, the top portion started to bubble up, and I cut a hole and then put some gaffer tape over it until I can get a new one. So it's an early 2021 build, so it's one of the first to have the heated steering wheel. So I'm not sure if that's part of the reason why, but I may be getting a new wheel soon. So basically my seat and my steering wheel are the biggest casualties of 100,000 miles. Other than that, I think the Model Y interior has held up pretty well. Okay, let's talk about efficiency. So the day that I rolled over it is a screenshot from the video I took. Basically, I used 27,132 kilowatt hours, so about 27 megawatt hours to go 100,000 miles, with an efficiency of that day was 271 watt hours for that amount of time. Since then, I've had a lot of air conditioning use in the summer, so I'm raising my average a little bit to 272. It's been a couple thousand miles since I crossed that. But yeah, 271 watt hours a mile. You know, in my Volt days, I learned to hypermile, and I don't do a lot of hypermiling in the Model Y, but I do drive it rather efficiently. Every once in a while I'm driving, you know, 80 on the freeway or something like that. But for the most part, I probably drive high 60s, mid 70s, sometimes high 70s. But, you know, in San Diego, you know, we don't have too many temperature swings in terms of really cold or really hot. We do see more hot than cold, of course. A year ago, we had, you know, many days of 100 plus, and you know, just the cabin overheat protection was running a while, so my efficiency took a hit last summer, but it's averaged out now to be, you know, I get roughly 270, 272 watt hours a mile. So yeah, and if you multiply that by about my average cost of electricity here at home, I charge at 15 cents a kilowatt hour, and then average supercharger price is somewhere between like 35, 45 here, but I'd probably do about 60 to 80% charging at home. So, you know, it's probably about somewhere between $5,000 and $7,000. I haven't done the exact math, but it's somewhere in that range of, let's say, an average of $6,000 in electricity to go 100,000 miles. So yeah. Okay, so another thing to talk about on the exterior is going to be the tires. I get a lot of questions about how often I go through tires because, you know, it's a big, heavy EV and all that. So I think in total, I'm on my third full set of tires. It's hard to estimate set of tires because I've basically been doing 2 at a time. I'm really bad at rotating my tires. I drive roughly 40,000 miles a year. So if I rotated my tires the same interval you're supposed to, I'd be in the shop like once a month rotating my tires, or having Tesla service come to me every, you know, every however many, what is it, 10,000 miles or something. Anyway, so up here, I got these Bridgestone Turanzas, not the Turanza EVs, but the Turanza regulars. They're pretty nice. The store said they, you know, had a hard time, even though it was the right size, the store didn't like it in the computer matching up with the stock tire size, but friend of mine got me a hookup there for this pair of tires. I got these in December. They still have some pretty good tread life left. And in the back in May, I'm trying out now the Michelin Cross Climate 2s. And actually, I'm really digging this tread pattern. My family has property where it gets, even though I'm in Southern California where it never rains, even though we just had we had a tropical storm come through here, you know, it's nice to have wet handling when you need it. And this has really deep tread pockets, and it's got a nice pattern that really pushes the water out to the sides. Really want to try these in the snow. So I actually recently got another set of wheels. So I've been rocking my Geminis since the beginning. About a year ago though, after the 2022 Tesla takeover, I had lost, I don't know how it happened, it either popped off or somebody stole it, but I lost one of my aero covers. So I said, okay, I'll take them off. And I've been basically rocking the Geminis, you know, pretty much about a year now with no covers on them, even though I did find another aero cover at a Volta station. But Just still, you know, yes, you probably noticed I have curbed my wheels. You know, this is a working vehicle. This is not a show car. So, but the nice thing with the Geminis is that from far away, you know, the color of the metal, you know, from far away, it's not easy to see that you've curbed your tires. So with my next set of wheels, I'm going to be a little bit more careful because they are a little bit nicer on the looks. Even though I've always kind of liked this split 7-spoke going on here. But yeah, I'm really liking the Cross Climate 2s. Can't wait to have a full set of 4 on here. So my original tires lasted, let's see here, I think I kept about a year, so about 40,000 miles. I replaced 2 of them. I had my original Continentals on here with the 19-inch Geminis. And yeah, replacing 2 at a time because just I'm not good at staying on the rotation schedule. I basically have been rotating tires by buying 2 at a time. So I'll put 2 fresh ones in the back and put the ones that were there up on the front. So about probably every 20,000 miles or so, I'm buying 2 tires. So I guess that's averaging out to what, maybe about 30,000 miles on 4 tires. So, but yeah, this latest set has actually been lasting a pretty long time. So I can't wait to see how long a set of 4 of Cross Climate lasts here. All right, so 100,000 miles with the Model Y. Well, it definitely has been a fun 100,000 miles, even though a good amount of it is, work miles with rideshare. But a lot of my miles have been on a lot of fun road trips. Like I said earlier, I had my Colorado road trip, which I'm planning to do again, hopefully soon. I want to go to Seattle. I want to go all the way to Florida, maybe visit some Tesla friends out there. But yeah, this car has gotten me a lot of places and done a lot of fun events. Been to 3 Tesla takeovers, multiple club events, having a good old time. But let's talk about the elephant in the room, right? Everybody wants to know, how is the battery? 100,000 miles, how's the battery? Well, full disclosure, it's on its 3rd battery. So, yeah, right. The first one, my original battery, was doing pretty good. Had a solid 315, 320 miles every day, and then about 40,000 miles. So almost a year, I had a BMS error. Said service soon. Week later, took it in after it wouldn't charge. Like it wouldn't charge on supercharging or level 2. And under warranty, got a new pack. However, a new pack is actually a remanufactured pack. So my second battery, I got around 40,000 miles. That one, believe it or not, had almost the exact same issue, except that time I didn't wait until it couldn't charge. I scheduled an appointment right away. And so at 60,000 miles, my second battery, which was remanufactured, was not a new battery, had to be swapped out. And since 60,000 miles to now, so almost a year now, I'm on this 3rd battery. This one, particularly, it's also remanufactured. It's been, knock on wood, it's been more stable than the second one. It basically reads plus or minus 300 miles, given the temperature and the driving conditions. But yeah, it's on its 3rd battery. And so for that reason, I may be looking for a new Model Y before I hit 120,000 miles, just because this is my work vehicle livelihood and I need to have a vehicle where I'm not shelling out for a new battery. So I may be looking into getting a new Tesla Model Y right around the time I hit 120,000 miles. But aside from the battery swaps, the car has been pretty much flawless. Motors are great. We looked at the interior. I think I need a new seat, but that's because I'm sitting in the chair all day long doing lift, getting hot and sweaty. The other thing, I've tried a couple different roof shades. I love the glass roof. My riders love it even more because the view is a lot better in the back seat, especially when you're downtown and you look at all the buildings, you're like, whoa, this is so cool, especially if you've never seen it before. But as the driver who sits in the car all day long, that UV coming down, even though the AC is taking care of the overall temperature, just that heat on the top. So I am looking for, I've seen a couple new roof shades coming out that kind of retract. So I might look into that. But other than that, the glass roof was a lot of fun, especially just recently in our tropical storm we just had, seeing the rain, the water just bead straight back on the roof is a lot of fun too. So So one of the questions I got when I put it out there that I was going to do a 100,000 mile video was, would I buy a Tesla Model Y again? And I think my short answer would be yes. Now, if I had my druthers, there's a couple of things I would want, but these are coming from the point of view of someone who drives an average of about 40,000 miles a year right now, which is not like a record-breaking rideshare driver, but you know, it's well more than the average driver. So coming from the perspective of someone who drives that much, I would love to see a 400-mile Model Y, just because, you know, it'd be nice to go a little bit longer before you want to charge. You know, I do full days in this car, no problem, but every once in a while you're just like, oh, if I just had 50 more miles for that buffer in case of, you know, whatever rides come your way. You can filter out rides and stuff like that, but you know, just being able to kind of drive around without really thinking about your range too much, which is not a huge issue. Like I said, I do pretty much full days driving Lyft with this thing. Now the biggest thing though, which is probably an easier thing for them to put in, would be ventilated seats. The number one thing I would add to a Model Y is ventilated seats. Pretty much everything else about the car is really nice. But I've always been a cloth seat guy, so going to a car where you're sitting in a seat where it's trapping that heat, I get sweaty, you know, like my back is sweaty, my legs are sweaty. And, you know, I do try to take breaks and, you know, walk around and stretch my legs and all that. But even after about an hour of driving, half an hour, you know, in the seat, you know, so long story short, I would like to have ventilated seats on whatever my next car is. Yeah, so if I had a, you know, maybe 350, 400 mile range on a Model Y with ventilated seats, that's the only thing that really, from someone who drives a lot, would be the thing. But for the average person, this thing has plenty of range. But other than that, this thing has been a trooper. Like I said before, it's basically been my favorite car. So yes, I would buy a Model Y again, especially after they've improved it after about 2 or 3 years. Love the Model Y. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for a more in-depth video about that battery swap experience. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.